Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just sit right here. Rico Suave here today. Okay, good. One thing we want to know is how to make more profit. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to find lost profit. You might remember the insurance commercial with a guy driving the motorcycle down the road and all the dollar bills flying out the back of it. That could be your business and you don't even know it. Maybe you do know it or maybe you don't. But probably when I tell you where to look to find these lost dollars, you might want to hit the stop button, or don't please. It's got to do with your financial literacy. And again, I'm talking to small, medium-sized businesses. I've seen businesses grow, 10, 15, 20 million dollars that still did not use efficiently the knowledge that they could gain from their financials. But I really see it in those companies that are trying to get from 1 to 2, 2 to 5, and up. So why is that important? And it's important at the beginning. First of all, we're in business doing what we like to do. We are technically good at things, and it is a business owner skill that you need to improve. So my goal today is not to think of your P&L or your financial statement. Those are the same things: P&L, financial statement, and the other things that go with them, your balance sheet and cash flow statements. Don't think of that as a necessary evil. Think of that as one of the most important tools in your toolbox in learning how to be a better strategic thinker and making better strategic decisions as an owner. You can't make strategic decisions often unless you have data or information. Usually when we start our businesses, they don't start out clean, and we have lots of things that are in our P&Ls that need to be cleaned up. Even though we might have a good CPA, a lot of things still linger, and you're getting your taxes done, and you want to have a good relationship with them. But the fact is, you want to take some time to understand what these things mean. Very first and foremost, probably the biggest thing that I see is that they aren't clean. And you need to do whatever you've got to do to get someone to help you clean up your books. If you've got to pay for someone to come out, is to do it as a project, because often I see owners don't trust the numbers. They don't prioritize using this as a tool because they don't trust the numbers, or they know they're not current. So above everything else, before you even learn how to, or as you're learning how to be a better assessor of the data, you got to make sure they're clean and you got to make sure they're current. The bills have to get entered. Find ways, prioritize it. It is so important. And I'll tell you in a couple of examples. And you need to know kind of what your most important ratios are. I'm not going to get into a heavy accountant talk. You need to look at those, but I just want to change your perspective on how important it is to be clean, current, and know what levers to pull, because that's really, and with that information, you've got certain levers to pull as an owner, whether you need to raise your prices, whether it's really time to hire someone, if we need to borrow some money, how quickly can we get it from the bank because everything's clean. Is this area in the business where all the excitement is that where we're really making money, or are we losing money? Are 30% of our customers really customers that we don't make any money on, and we should change that? If you don't really know how to dive into that and you don't do it on a regular, purposeful basis, you're missing a big part of the ability to make a real good strategic decision. And I will tell you, it's not personal experience. It's not fun. It's not something I like to do. Most of us, if we ever get really good at it, we either have a really good mentor, or we just got into such a tight situation that we were forced to do it. But I've seen it come out, again, without getting into so much detail for you. You want to remove that cloud of doubt. But here's some things that can happen. Once they're clean and current, you can maybe look at your profit centers. Maybe you've got part of your group is installers and the other group goes out and does maintenance, like you see in the trades often. Maybe you're at a print shop and you've added a sign part of your business, and it's growing and exciting, and you think that's where you're making the money. But I've had some examples recently to where a company had added a new part of their to their production, and it was exciting and it was growing, and everybody in the company, including the owner, thought that that's probably where we're probably making money and losing money somewhere else, because all of a sudden their net profit had gone from being a certain percent level, 12, 13, down to around 7 or 8. Really couldn't put their finger on what it was. Well, what we did help them to do is establish a profit center in each one of these. Got things cleaned up, got profit center set up, and what the information told them was, in that particular area, they were losing dollars. Primarily because looking at what the cost of goods should be, and if you know those ratios, they weren't charging enough, number one, and they weren't charging enough for installations and things like that. So once that they were able to break out that information and it changed perspective, now things were going back up. But without that, they really were not even going close to that direction. Totally changed the way they do it. Another situation I see happen is often as owners, whether it's our credit cards or lines of credit, we borrow too much money and we're carrying too much debt, and it really gets to be a burden. And then things start going well and some money starts stacking up. You're not used to that, and you don't know really kind of where your ratios are as far as how much money you should kind of have on hand, at least to make sure you pay things. And you look and you see, I got this much money in the bank and I can pay off this debt, and it's going to feel so good to do it. And you go do that, and then 3 months later you have a little dip and you're in real trouble, because you've used up all your cash. And the reason you did it is you didn't know kind of what that ceiling was that you should at least or minimum keep on hand. You hear the term current ratio, and people may say it's your expenses times 3, or basically all your cost that it takes to operate a month times 2. Whatever that might be, you want to make sure that you're there. 2 to 1, you can pay bills very easily. It's 1 to 1, you know it's going to be tight. But that's it. But if you're not looking at it every month, and you're not knowing where you're going up and down, you don't know what lever to pull. The other is I had a experience recently where a lot of tremendous growth, and everything was going great. The numbers were going up, but all of a sudden, because we weren't looking at it every month, profit started going down, even though sales were going up, and didn't know what happened. Was on the verge of going over the edge. Well, come to find out, the industry standard was we'll just say 40% of sales, and let's just say they were well above that. Had that been known, even if their total financial statement wasn't clean, if they at least knew their sales and their payroll, they would have known they were going to be getting in trouble. But it's things got done and we got a whole new life, but it could have been prevented. On a personal note, when I purchased out some partners in a shop earlier in my career, back when they loaned me way more money than they ever needed to, but there I was, and we were making it. But it kind of dawned on me, if I have 3 bad months, I'm gonna be in real trouble. I can have 1 bad month, and so I didn't, because of the debt, I didn't have a lot of levers to pull, but the only one I could really do was payroll, and I knew our industry was about 25%. I got ours down to 18%, and that 7% on the bottom line is what not only allowed me to pay the debt, but also to pay myself a proper salary and then some, and build from there, and got a nice few years later, was in great shape. But I was forced to know that number, but it helped me because that's the only lever I could pull. So I hope I didn't get too far in the weeds, but I just, it's hard to get there. I know, but if you ever become a champion at this, you'll never stop. And I'll give you one last little thing to think about. I won't name, there's a gentleman in the state that is given large amounts of money to universities. He's been very successful as a builder, construction industry. And I've got a friend that is a financial consultant that's worked with him for years and years on various things. But in his large organization from the beginning up to, to where it's at now, he would look at his numbers on the 15th and the 30th. He didn't wait till the end of the next month. I mean, he just was that, that was a secret sauce for him, that he knew he could control his cost, and especially in the construction industry and everything there. So I hope that motivates you to get a little better at it. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get overwhelmed. Just take it a little piece at a time, but just make it a purpose. If you want to talk more about that or any other subjects, please be sure to reach out to me. Thank you. I hope this helped.